Today we review Far Cry 3 and Sleeping Dogs, both for the PS3. We also passed through the Mash the Button tournament to speak with some of the fighting genre's pros. We also spoke with the organizers of the tournaments who had a lot to say regarding their future plans. That and a lot more. You've just entered the lab. Sleeping Dogs. Now, at first glance, you might think it is, but this game is not just another GTA clone. Myself and others like me might easily overlook a game like Sleeping Dogs. We might just cast it aside as another GTA sandbox game clone, especially if that genre isn't quite our thing. But you see, that's the advantage of having your own video game show. And knowing people like Gregory from Straight Games, I get my hands on a lot of titles, even ones I normally wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Relax, old boy. We're on the same side, remember?
Now here's what really happened with Sleeping Dogs. I updated my PC's graphics card and decided it was time to start racking up on some PC titles. The best place to shop around in my opinion is on Steam, as you get to try many demos. Now Sleeping Dogs was one of these demos available. I gave it a shot and decided, hey, this actually looks good. Now I never got it for the PC as planned, but the PS3 version, well, here's what I think.
Winston, I don't like this cocky little
First thing I noticed with the demo, the controls, real smooth, but unfortunately not as refined as the Arkham games, but still real smooth. From running, clearing obstacles, fighting, driving and hijacking other vehicles, it's clear to see the devs had us in mind. The controls in this game are so good that by the time the credits roll, you'll realize you didn't die that much at all. Unless of course you're a noob. And no hard feelings in that regard either. Most gamers use that word noob as an insult, when really it shouldn't be. We all have to start somewhere, and not every gamer has made a pact with their consoles to abandon all other aspects of their lives and dedicate themselves to turning hardcore or pro.
I understand that.
A bit more on the fight controls though, because even though they're tight, they're not perfect. I find that sometimes locking onto another opponent doesn't always work out as well as I'd like it to. And Wei Shen, your character, does this silly Bruce Lee looking bounce if you press the counter button without actually doing a counter. And in the middle of this bounce, you can easily get your butt handed to you. But other than that, the fighting engine works well. Using the environment to crush your enemies is also a welcomed addition, and there are many ways to do so it doesn't get old. Let me give you a quick rundown on the story and my opinion of it. First, do you remember the True Crime games? Well, this was originally to be called True Crime Hong Kong. It was to be a sequel. But the story is basic and done to death in 100 A-list and B-list movies.
And it was just getting interesting too.
You're an undercover officer who gets in too deep. After rubbing shoulders with the triads, the people you're trying to take down, you become too attached to these people and end up being torn between your allegiance to the bad guys and your duties as a cop.
This is your last chance to come in clean.
What? But what's he gonna do? Arrest me? Call me a rogue cop?
Seen it many times before, but the thing is, and I'll point this out again and again from now on when judging a game's story, I've come to the realization that a story in a video game and one in a screenplay should be treated differently, and probably is. If a movie and a video game has basically the same story, a cheesy played out one like the one we have here in Sleeping Dogs, but because of the game's ability to pull you in further into the story because of the obvious interaction elements that games in general offer, then although the story is the same, it's more impactful than it would be by just sitting and watching it on a screen. This is probably why a lot of people will tell you that a novel is better than its movie counterpart, and video games, if you actually play them, offer a whole lot more room for immersion and interaction than any novel. So my point is, I won't come down too hard on a game for its played out script. Sometimes, like here in Sleeping Dogs, you're able to see past it and really get into the game. Watching or reading it is a whole lot different than interacting with it through a video game.
Jackie, you two go to the night market. You make sure people understand that I'm in control, not Dog Eyes.
The visuals in Sleeping Dogs are really good. Not Watch Dogs good, but real nice. In my opinion, GTA 4 had nothing over it.
You should have seen it, Winston. Wade just beat up like 10 of Dog Eyes guys in the market by himself.
Hi, man.
They attacked us. Seems to me you could use some better help.
Come on, yeah, huh?
The voice acting, although B-movie, is also good and helps you believe the story and relate and empathize with some of the characters. At first, no one will care about these done-to-death style action movie characters, but as you give the game a chance to grow and reveal itself to you, you will get lost in it. My advice to you is, don't play and stop. Try to dedicate a week of playtime to it. You'll get what I'm saying.
I don't know. I almost bought it today, man. For real. I think I'm just gonna go take a walk or something.
You're given somewhat of a skill tree upgrade system that's pretty basic but also very helpful and not the kind of thing you should overlook. As you progress through the game, you can learn new moves at your local dojo and other helpful abilities as well. Some of these are divided into two, similar to that game Infamous, where you have abilities for being good cop and you have abilities for being the bad cop. When in game, you'll meet up on quite a few minigames. Some simple and some simply annoying. Now I really could have done without the hacking, but it was nothing to pull any hairs out over. The cover system while using guns also worked out well. It wasn't as smooth as Uncharted or Gears, but it got the job done. A few things people might really not like about Sleeping Dogs though. First is its duration. Now, don't get me wrong, the duration was fine by me, my type of game, done before you expect it. But for others who are looking for a GTA type of everlasting experience, look further, way further. Sleeping Dogs was done in a heartbeat. I've heard some say the game's duration is 15 hours. I experienced no such thing. Now, while I didn't set a stopwatch, I judge my game's duration based on the days I sat with it. For most first-person shooters like Call of Duty and so on, it's 3 sittings. And when I say sittings, I don't mean 24 hours a day, no food, no sleep, pee in a bottle kind of sitting. I mean 3 to 4 hours a day. And that's the regular time it takes me for, well, regular games. But that's also the time it took me for Sleeping Dogs. Now, I'm sure a lot of persons watching did the math and they're saying, didn't he just say it was 15 hours long? But yet he said he takes 3 to 4 days at 45 hours each. Well, let me explain. When devs say a game like Call of Duty's campaign is 4 hours long, I have good reason to believe they mean it's 4 hours long if you never die and play it perfectly, straight. That never happens, at least not for me, and I play every game on the hardest level. So if devs say Sleeping Dogs is 15 hours long, I expect to be playing it for way more than 15 hours. Get me now?
Not anymore.
And on top of its short duration, the game is real easy. I mean, real easy. I hardly ever had to do anything over. But I believe this was mainly because of how well the game was designed. Similar goes for games like Uncharted, made by gamers for gamers.
Of course, man.
The game is also not very non-linear, for lack of better words. You might have side missions and such, but it stays on a more straight and clearer path than games like GTA. This game reminds me a lot of Mafia 2, another open world GTA style game that I really enjoyed from start to end. You can do stuff like sing karaoke if you wish, but the game sticks to a clear path.
Hey, big dog. Want to play with this kitty cat?
I mean, who could resist you?
Let's see if we can chase that tension away.
You can also go do odd jobs with people on the street. I started to do a few, but they were so ridiculous sometimes that I just completely ignored them altogether moving forward.
Can you do me a favor?
Probably, yeah. What is it?
Mrs. Chu sent over some lunch, but I haven't paid yet. Can you take this back to the restaurant?
Sometimes the camera wasn't as smooth as I'd like either, but such is the way of most third-person games anyway. Other than those small things and the locking on to enemies while fighting, Sleeping Dogs is a winner, and also unfortunately lives up to its name in a very funny way. It's a sleeper hit and an underdog, a game that deserved a little bit more of the spotlight. The Lab gives Sleeping Dogs an 8 out of 10.
I'm glad I can make you see reason.
After the break, we talked to Gregory from Straight Games, plus a review of Far Cry 3.